Alright, this is a subscriber login system created with Laravel. Let me show you what it does. Now we have restricted a page. It will only get accessed when we are a registered user. Now it says to access the home you have to register yourself. So now let's just register. I'm going to give the first name, the last name, and username, and the email address, and I'm going to specify the gender and the password uimonk@gmail.com. This is the password, and I'm specifying the confirm password. Click on register. Now you are registered successfully. Now you can log in. If you click on login, you have to use the credentials which you have used while creating, which is username, password. Click on login. Now you will have access to this URL called home. Now if I log out and try to access the home, it will not allow me until I am a registered user. Now let's just see what are the functionality that we have in the register. So if I click on register, you will see the validation saying that first name is required, last name is required, and these are the required fields. The same goes for the login. If I click on login, it says email is required and password is required. And the password that we have created are in the secured hash format. You can see these are in the secured hash format. And your password and confirm password should match. If I make Vishal@2894, and if I give this to password, and if I make some deliberately wrong password, let's just say X, and click on confirm, and you'll see the message saying that the confirm password does not match. And I have downloaded the template from the ColorLive website. Now if you click on download, it will get downloaded. So you can use this template to start along with me. Source code, I have left this in the description box. Just copy it, and let's just get started. All right. The very first thing that we need to do is we need to open a command prompt, cmd, and in the cmd we would need to redirect to the C drive, cd dot dot change directory, and get into XAMPP, cds space XAMPP tab, cd htdocs, and then cd Laravel projects. This is where all our projects are. And now here we need to write a code and says that let's just name the folder as subscriber 3. Now copy this code, and we are saying composer. We are just saying the composer that create a project, download the Laravel projects Laravel folders, and name the folder as subscriber 3, and the preferred version is 8.6.3. If you click enter, composer will download the Laravel project Laravel folder into the location where you have specified. Here in this case it's going to be Laravel projects is the folder. Now by the time, make sure you have your XAMPP running, and we'll create a database called subscriber 3. Let's just follow the same folder name with our database name so we don't get confused. Now let's just start the XAMPP, and let's get into php myadmin, localhost php myadmin, and it's still downloading. Alright, click on new, and you can name it as subscriber 3. and once it's done, you have to link this database name to your Visual Studio or to your Laravel's env file. In the env file, it's nothing but an environment file where you need to connect your created database with your Laravel folder. Let's just wait till this gets downloaded. Alright, now you need to get into your folder, cd subscriber 2, sorry, subscriber 3 in that case, and we need to install the Laravel UI package. And we need to install the authentication. So this is responsible for once you make this, you will have a login auth folder in your resources, or else you won't find. So once you add these, you may need to have one more command, which is npm run dev and npm install. So now it says it has installed the Laravel UI package. Now the authentication is also done. Now we can install and run the npm. So there's a problem here. Until and unless you don't see a table, you have to run a code again, which is npm run dev. This could be some rare case which may happen. As I said, I had to run one more command, which is npm run dev. And you see, until this table, you have to make sure you have to make sure that this table you see after the process which I say, unless or else it means that your Laravel is not properly installed. So now let's just open Visual Studio Code through this command prompt code and dot. What it will do is this will load your subscriber 3 package in your Visual Studio Code. And now the very first thing, as I said, we need to configure the database, or we need to connect our Laravel folder to our database, and this is a place subscriver 3 subscriber 3. We have connected the database. Since we are using XAMPP, our database username is root and the password is blank. And now localhost, it won't work until let's just open a new command prompt. So let's use this command prompt for creating controller models and rest of the thing. And let's just create another command prompt, and it will run the php artisan serve command, cd dot dot cd change directory XAMPP change directory htdocs change directory htdocs change directory Laravel projects change directory subscriber 3 and php artisan serve. When I enter this command, Laravel will create an internal server for me with a URL and a port name. So URL would be a IP address, which is 127.0.0.1, which is nothing but which will refer to localhost, and the port is for 8000. So now if your Laravel folder, this is the Laravel welcome page. Let me just show you why this has come. So when you search for this URL nothing wins, or this will simply refer to slash. So when there's a search for slash, Laravel will get into a folder called routes. Inside the routes we have web.php, and inside the web.php it says when there is a call for this slash, what you do is return the view called welcome. So view is nothing but a PHP file. So this view can be found in resources, views, and home. Sorry, this is welcome. So in case if you change anything here, let's just make this the title as UI monk, and click on save, and if you refresh it, the title will change to UI monk. So I hope this is clear. The same way, this could be similar. This could happen to the similar case, like If there's a call, if there's a search for home, Laravel will get into the controller. So the controller you can find in here, app, HTTP, controllers, home controllers. Let me just comment this because this will not allow you to access until and unless you are logged in. We'll look at this in the later part of the video, but let's just focus on the way how controller plays a huge role in Laravel. Now when there is a search for the home, Laravel will get into the web.php. So in the web.php, when there's a call for this URL, Laravel will get into the controller. So this is the controller name, and this is the relevant function that is dealing with this URL. So in the index file, in the index function, you see there is again a return of home file. View is nothing but file. So here you can see home. So when I search for home, you will see this would get displayed. Let me just remove this and let me just say hello, and you will say hello. I hope this is clear. Now what we need to do is we need to convert our registration page into the Laravel template. It's very straightforward. Let me just open the folder first. We need to look for Ep27, and here let me just open the index. So this is the static HTML. We are going to convert it into Laravel. In that case, what we will do is you can open the folder and make sure all your CSS, JS and images are in a single file or single folder. So in this case I have converted the HTML template in such a way that all the required assets like CSS, JS and images are inside the assets folder. When I open it, you'll see CSS, fonts and images. These are required. So I hope this is clear. Once you create a separate folder which holds all your assets, just copy this and you need to get into your Laravel project. In this case it's subscriber 3, and paste it inside public_HTML directly. Again, the location is very important. Laravel will only be able to find the assets when it is placed in public folder, or else it won't work. So once it gets pasted, what we can do is we can open this HTML in the Visual Studio Code, Control O, and in the desktop I have saved this Ep27 registration form, and you can copy the whole thing. And since it's a registration page, since we have installed the auth while installing Laravel, resources, instead of resources you can get into views. In the views you will find auth, and in the auth there is already a register.blade.php. You can copy the whole thing and just place it. So, and again in the we have to see this, what we need to do is we need to create a controller. So as I said, there is a default controller called home controller. Let's just make our own controller. So we can use this, and the relevant code for controller we can name it as custom login. Cool. Copy this command and saying the PHP artisan, make a controller and name it as custom login and create the relevant function. So what are the relevant function? Laravel has some default function for controller that will also get created. So now you see we have a custom login which we have created just now. So these are the default function that is required to create a basic CRUD operation. We'll look at it detailed in the coming episodes, but let's just focus on index right now. So copy this controller name and create a duplicate, shift alt down arrow, and when there's a call for register, when there's a call for the URL register, get into this controller, get into this index page. Instead of default function, we can create one more function in the custom login. So we can copy the function again, and you can save as register view. Copy this, and this is the function that is dealing with this URL register function, and we can give the name of the route. So why we are giving name? Consider this URL is something very large, like register slash some random names slash some random names some random names. Instead of copying the whole random name or URL, you can just simply call the route. So it's just a nickname for this URL. So we'll see why we need this in while creating form. But as of now, when there's a call for this URL, get into this route function, get into this controller, and get into this function, and just return the register view which we have made right now. So return view which is inside Laravel default have access to this view, but inside the view we have to mention the place. In the auth we have register. Now when we call for a register, you will see the working HTML without CSS and JS because we have not linked it yet. You will be just seeing the broken HTML. Cool, even though it's not properly linked, but we could see it. Let's just hard refresh it. Cool. Now in many cases we won't be able to see the CSS and the images until we make a modification. So these are properly configured. So that's the reason. If it doesn't make proper if it doesn't connect your CSS with HTML, what you can do is just cut this and use the blade template and type asset, and you need to pass your CSS. So in this case it doesn't require, so we'll just keep it as it is because it's very well organized. So this is registration page. The same way, let me copy this and get into login and paste it. And in the web.php, again, sorry, in the custom login, we need one more function, and we'll call it as login view. And here inside the auth folder, it is login. So we need to mention it in the web.php. When there's a call for login, get into this controller, and the relevant function that is going to handle is login view, and let's just name this as login view. So if I type login, you will see the same. Just to make a difference, we can make this login form. You can see login form. When I make it register, you will fill register form. Cool. So this is login page. So the problem here is, if I want to make a simple change in the header, I have to do this in both the file, so which is not accepted at all. So in that case, we'll be creating a new file that will hold your header and your footer. So now in the resources, in the views, let's just create one more folder and name it as header, or just say layout for auth. So here we can create one more file which is layout dot blade dot php. So now here just copy the upper part and copy the repeating footer. The same way, now you can remove the in the register.php, remove the upper part and remove the footer part. Now if I search for register or login, you will see there is no, in the code, control U, in the code you will see there is no header opening of HTML and the header tag. So to link that, what we'll do is we'll use a directive which is extends, and we need to specify, since I said we have access till views, and inside that we have layout which we have created right now, layouts underscore auth, and inside that we have layout. So once you make this, and let me just copy this in register as well. If I make a refresh, layouts, views, inside views we have layout, not layouts, layout. Refresh it, control U. Again you don't have header, but it is there. You can see in the bottom it is placed. Let me just refresh it again and press control U. So in the register page we can see directly this in the start of our code, but as I scroll down you'll see the header and the closing of header, which is closing of HTML, you can see. Now we want to place our code in between these two. In that case, what we will do is, in the layout you need to call a directive which is yield, and you need to give a keyword, let's just say container, and we need to use this in our register. We are creating another directive, using another directive section. The password which we are given, in this case it's container, and we need to close the end section at the rate end. We need to close the directive. Now if I make a refresh, and if I make a refresh, you will see we have a HTML, and then in the place of yield we have our content. Now this is properly made. The same way, let me copy this in our login, and of course we'll be changing our heading, and the same way for login. Let us press control U. It says 404 not found. So register is able to access the CSS. Control Shift R. But login.blade.php is not able to access. Control Shift R and Control U and click on some CSS. It's not able to access it. In that case, what we will do is, let me find the difference first. So this is the URL. So if I search for register, yes, the register also not getting reflected. Register is also, register CSS is not working. It's because in the layouts we have to specify this, as I already said, closing and opening of blade. Copy this, and then we have asset function. You can use single quote, control V to close the sidebar. The same way, ASSET So in the place of this, we need to paste our. Now if I make a refresh, you see we have our registration form, but the image is not there. So in the register, you can see this is the image. We can again use the blade asset. Now you will see in registration the same way we can make this in login. So now you understood the importance of asset function login. So in this case, if you want to change the header, in that case also in the layout, just use the yield, and here we'll just say title. Now in the register again, at the rate section, we have given title, and we need to end the directory, and we can give the title as register. The same way for login. Refresh it. So in the title you can see login. In the register you will see the title as register. Cool, that is done. Now we need to work on this form. So in the register, so before that let us create the table. So php artisan migrate. So once you type this, Laravel will install some default table, which will be like 5 tables default. Here you can see these default 5 tables, but the table that we need is users. If I click on users, you will find some default columns. So name, email, these are there, but in our registration page we have first name, last name, username, email address, gender, password, confirm password. So we need to add these columns into our database. In that case, what we will do is we will create a migration file. So let me create a migration file now. So the relevant code for migration is php addition make a migration file, and the migration file should name as modify user tables, and we have a file, but we need to link that file to the table. In that case, I will be linking the table users. So let's just see whether our migration file is created or not. So in the database you will find migration, and you will find modify user table, and here we have two functions. So in the up function we need to modify the table. What are the things that we need? We need to specify what are the columns that we need to specify. So these are the columns that is there in the database. We don't have to specify, sorry, that is there in the form. We don't have to specify the confirm password now. Let's just see what are things are present by default. So let's just make this name as username, and we have email, and we have password. Now what we need to do is, since we have a name, we can name this form name attribute as name. Now what we need to do is, in the form, in the register.blade.php, we have the first name, last name. Let's just name it as let me add the name attribute on all. And now in the HTML, this is for first name. Let's just use our default name, first name, because this would be equal to our column name in table. That's why I'm making this. Now we have username. Let's just simply we give it as name. then we have email, then gender, then we have password. And for confirm password, Laravel has a default name for that, which is password underscore confirmation. If you change it, this won't work. Cool. Now we need to make these name in our columns. So here you will see the name which we have used in the HTML field, which would be there in the column names of table. So for that, in the modification file which we have made right now, modify user table, we will be creating a code. Cool. I have created a column, first name, last name, and gender. So the data type for the column is string. Data type for this column is string. The data type for this column is enum. So enum, in the enum, it's just a way of reducing space in database. Only these three fields are allowed. So we have to make sure we have the same name mentioned here: male, female, and other. Once this is done, we can run our Control C to quit PHP artisan migrate, and now it would be migrated. And now you can see first name is there, last name is there, gender is there. Cool. We have added our field in the table. Now we need to add validation and then submit these values to the database. So for that we have a form. The method should always be post, so which is register submit. So we need to create a URL here. So to add this URL here in the web.php, duplicate this and register submit. This is the URL and this is the route name and this is the function. So now we need to create a function in the controller here. This is the controller. So this is the function, and now what we need to do is we need to accept the request. So let me just show you in the register dot. We don't need login as of now, we don't need layout as of now, don't need home in file. Cool. Now when I click on submit in the form, all the URL will get into this URL which I will be specifying now. So we want the URL to be this way. So instead of specifying the URL, we use the name. So here use the, this means we are going to use Laravel code here. In the Laravel code, what we will do is a route. Cool. So when you click on the submit, you will see the URL gets changed to register submit. If I click on submit, which is, you see register submit is there. And now in the register submit, make sure this is post. That's the error we are getting. Now I need to accept all the data. Dollar request. Now we can access the request with this variable. Request is nothing but all input fields. Now if I click on register, you will see we are getting this error. It's because we have the CSR of token is not enabled. In the action, you need to specify @C cross site request forgery. It's nothing but we will get a token along with each submit. Click on register. Actually we are not displaying it, so to display dump and die, this is the PHP function. Click on register. You see all the values of your input field: first name, last name, name, email, password, and confirm password. But the thing is, all of them are blank. So let's just stop this by sending the blank URL. In that case, we'll be having a validate function, And now you will see these are the name attribute of HTML, and then we are specifying the condition. First name is required, last name is required, name is also required, but the minimum value should be 3. This is required and it should be email. Gender is required, password is required, and for the confirm password both of them should match. In that case, it is specifying that the password is required. It should be minimum of 6, minimum of 8, but it should be confirmed. In this case, these two values should match. Cool, let's just check. So once you click on submit, your form will not get submitted. You can see page is getting refreshed, the form is not getting submitted, but the error is also not being showed. To make the error show, what we need to do is we need to use a code. And now I have to modify the table to show the error, modify the form input field to show the error. If I click on register, you'll see your first name is required and your last name is required. How it is happening? I'm calling the error directive and I'm passing the name attribute. You can see I'm passing the name attribute and I'm specifying in the error, let this be strong, and as a error input what should happen is display the error. So where this is getting, this field is required, where this is coming from, let's just see. So you can see in the resources, in the lang, in the validation file, you see if I search for required, you can make this short. Cool. Now if I refresh it and click on submit, it will just say first name is required. Cool. Now you understood where this is coming from. The same way, copy this in the second input field, add the name, and the same way for the username. So if we make this blank, click on register, you'll see first name is required, last name is required. It should say username is also required, but we have wrongly specified the name attribute. Username is also required. Cool. If I type first name here and if I make a submit, you'll see it will go away. And if I type something like second last name and I click on register, it will go away. So to prevent that, what we can do is we can add a name via attribute called a value, and here we are going to use Laravel code. So old, we need to pass the name. Now over here, let me just use this in the second input field just to make you understand. Refresh, and if I type Vishal and username is this way, if I click on register, except the first name and last name, this will go away. Click on register. You can see first name is there, last name is there, but this is gone. It's because we have not specified this value. And one more thing, which is we have the first function. You see all the errors has first function. What do you mean by this first? In the validation you have specified 3 conditions. Required, minimum is this, and this is confirmed. So it will just display, for the first time it will just display the required. If this required gets satisfied, then this is considered as first. If these two are satisfied, then this is just confirmed. This is just displayed as the first function error. Cool. Now let me just add this error in all the fields. We will not specify the old for password and confirm password. We want to make sure they are typed again. Now if I click on register, you will see these things are required. Let me just fill the first one, the last one, the email address, the gender, and if I click on register, you see everything stays as it is. So let me create a password which is Vishal 2894, and let's just intentionally make this wrong. If I click on register, the confirmation match do not match. Now if I make this both right, you'll see it will be proceeded to the next. Gender is required, male. Cool. In the, let's just dump and display the values, and password, confirm password, mail, register. Refresh this. Let's try one more time. Mail, password. You see there's a mistake I got here. So when the validation is done, I want to specify the request. Let's just do that. This is post 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and you can see received all the data. Now we are receiving all the data. We need to save this data into the database. Let's just do that. Now this code simply says that get all the request values and store it into a variable. Now we are calling the user model, so let's just call that user model over here. Now you see we have called the model. This model is responsible for inserting data into the database, and we are using the auth because we'll be checking the login with the auth, and we are using the hash and the session. The hash is responsible for converting the text into hash based password, and then we have session. So this session will be created as we log in, so it will come in the next function, which is login submit. So as of now I'm calling the model and using the static function create, and I'm passing the column names. These are the column names, and these are the relevant input field name. First name should be saved in the column first name should be saved in the column first name, last name should be saved in the column last name, the name should be saved in the column name, email should be saved in the column called email, gender the same way, and make the password, use the password and use the hash class and static function make and pass our input field data, and it will be converted into password. So once this is saved, I want to redirect to the login route with the message saying that message registered successfully. So now we need to get into the login view, and somewhere above the top over here, or not over here, we want to redirect them to the same register page, and once you click on submit, the same page will be displayed. But what will happen is, I want to show a message just after the button. We'll be specifying the message if there is any message, then so here, not error but message. Over here you'll see if the session has a message which we have passed with the controller. You can see this is the message. We can access this message over here with session has message, and then display the message along with the anchor tag called login. So here we have login underscore view. So we need to properly call the route name, which is login view. We'll use it in the login view here, and if everything goes right, you will get the message saying that a login button along with the text message which we have specified over here, registered successfully. Let's just try. First name, last name, username, email address, gender. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, because we had a condition saying that only minimum 8 values should get accepted. If we click on register, registered successfully, and here is a login. In case if you want to modify the message, just click on here and font size 1 rem, and you can change the color to, if you config this and just reduce this color, and we can have a margin top of 1 rem, and just copy the whole thing. If you want to change the color to green, you can do that. Copy the whole, and in the register page you can have it over here. Refresh it. In the table you should see a column that has been inserted. We just have to make sure the password is in hash format. You can see the password is received password is in hash format. Let's just register one more thing, one more user. UIMonk2, Latin UIMonk, username UIMonk, password uimonk2@gmail.com, gender male, password 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Click on register. It says registered successfully. If I click on the login, you will be redirected to login page. So in the login page we just need username and password. So in the login page, remove all except username and or email and password. Email, so I have removed it except email and password. Let's just see how does it looks. And you can change the text to, and now you have to create the submit route as we did. Method should be post @cross-site request forgery, and in the web this is login submit, the relevant function, the route name, and in the we can create a function, and yes, we will be receiving the request. Dump and die, get the request, show the request, make a refresh, click on login. So when there's a call, it's not forced as of now. Whether the route is right or not, yes, we have not specified the route. We are going to use the Laravel code, so this syntax is required. Route and pass the URL, route name. Click on login. You can see the name attribute is not there, that's why we could not see the value, which is email and password. If I make a submit again, you'll see name and email name and email is blank. So again we'll be validating it, email and password. We don't need confirmed. Cool. Now if I specify, and again we need to mention the error also. Let's just mention that from here. So I have added the error, also the old value. Refresh this, and if you can't log in, you get an error. Email is required, password is required. Let's just use this and password. Click on login. If I type something, you'll see it must be 8 letters long. As I said, in the we have to, if this gets satisfied, then you'll get it, you will be displayed the minimum 8 characters required. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Login. So you can see the username and password. Now we need to cross check whether these values are there in the database. So in that case, here we'll be receiving the email and password. So you will receive the email and password. Previously we have used all. Here we are just using email and password and saving it into a variable called data. Get the data in the variable called data and pass the variable into the auth class, a static function attempt. So if there is email and password, then proceed it to here, or else redirect to register page. Instead of register page, we'll just display the, again, if the credential is found, move into this. If the credential is not found, then display the error message saying that login failed. Let's just display the message over here as we did. If the session in the login page, here we can say the color as red. Now the same message I'm passing here, you can see the message. Let's just try. If I make the password some random value 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, because we want to see the error message. If I click on login, the authentication will failed. This is a get method. I'm specified wrong in the web. It should be forced. Yes, it's already a post. Refresh it. It says login failed. Let me try some random values 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Click on login. There's some problem here. We have a post. I think the form I have not specified the method post. Yes, it's also there. So here, instead of register failed, instead of login, we'll make a register view and call it as register. I'm sorry, I have made the wrong route. Here it should be login view. Login view. That's why the that's why it says force is not supported. Type something random so we can see the error message. You can see login failed. You can register it. So if I enter the right password, what should happen? So if I enter the right password, that means the column is there in the database. So the column is there in the database, and get this ID and store it into a variable. Let's just do that. So if the login is found, then get the ID and store it into user ID. And if the ID is found, then use the model to find the row. So if the row is found, then store that row into a variable, and then that variable holds one full row. So this whole row is inside this one variable, and this one variable that we have used to store will use this variable to add this into the session. So across all the pages, that means if we have only 2 pages as of now, let's consider we have 10 pages. So those 10 pages will have access to this variable. In other words, those 10 pages will have access to the one row which I have shown you in PHPMyAdmin. So that's the reason why I'm putting this into session. Now once this is done, we can say them to redirect to the home. Home. So when there's a call for URL home, Let's just see whether we are able to properly navigate. The username that we have used here is this one, and the password is 12345678 9. Click on login, and you should be redirected to the home page. That means it's right. And now over here, let's just create a logout. So let this be get login logout logou, and the relevant function is login logout, and the name is login logout. And in the controller, we can create the login logout function and copying the login logout. And here we need to delete the session which we have created right now and flush the cache. Cool. I have used the auth class to log out, and then I have used the session to invalidate and regenerate the token, and then we can redirect them to the login or register view. Cool. If I make sure you have this URL or the login name, so let's just get into the home.blade.php resources views home.blade.php, and it is extending from the folder called layouts app, and you need to find the text called logout, and here it is logout, and change the name to route name. So logout, this is the href and the route, and let's just try. If I click on logout, it should redirect me to the force is not support this route. Let me, yeah, it's the method forced. You can have get here if you want. Logout. We need to pass the request also in the custom login. You can see we are passing the request. Click on logout, spelling skin register. Yes. Now let's try to log in, and with the same credential that we have used, 12345678 9. Click on login. Home is there, and if I click logout, it should get redirected to register page. Cool. Now if I search for log home in the URL, I'll get direct access. We don't need that. We want this page to be displayed only to the logged in user. In that case, we'll be creating a middleware. Let's just do that. So copy this code, and here saying the artisan make a middleware and name it as login check. So once this is done, you will see in the app there is a folder called models, and here the code is still running. Middleware created successful. Actually not the model but the middleware, http middleware and login check, and this is the code that is responsible for redirecting to the home page. So here the concept of middleware comes in this way, like when there's a call for the URL called home, Laravel will get into the middleware and check if there is any condition. If there is no condition, then forward it to the next process. So the next process is done by here. Then we need to add a code here. If there is if the user is logged in, then only proceed to the next one. So let's just do that, and I'm saying if the user is logged in, then only proceed to the next one, or else redirect them, return redirect register underscore view. So we are checking whether the user is logged in or not. If it is logged in, then proceed to the home, or else return to the register page. If we need, we can pass a message to or login view with a message saying that need to log in to access home. Cool. Now for the process of creating middleware, this is not just it. We need to register the created middleware in the kernel. So here you will find a route middleware. Let's just copy this, and we have to give the nickname. The nickname is login check, and we have to call the class. So the created class is login check, and the nickname is this one. We need to use this nickname in the web.php. Now what we need is we have to create a route group. So the route group, before creating route group, we need to understand which all page should not display to non-logged in user. In this case, we just have one URL which should not get accessed without login. So this is the one. Now we need to create a route group. So here in the route group, this will only get accessed if this satisfies the middleware, this one. Cool. Now if I try to access the home page without a login, let me just log this out first. Home. If I try to access home, it is displaying me to the login view. So actually there's a wrong in the syntax error in the login check. Return, not redirect, return route. If I search for home again, spelling mistake in home, a call to member function with string. I'm sorry for the syntax error. Here this is how it should be. Login view, and the message is this one. So return redirect route view. Let's try again. So need to login to access home. Need to login to access. Let's just make this short. So if I search for home, you won't get accessed. You won't be able to access because you need to register it, or you need to have logged in. If I use the same email and password which I have used while registering, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, click on login. Now you'll have access to the home. So if I make a logout and search for home, I won't have access to it. So the scope of this video is done. Thank you so much for listening.